The Indian Army today took a dig at the United States by sharing an old newspaper clip from 1971 showing how the United States has supported Pakistan for decades, supplying them with arms. Remember, it's very interesting the timing of this post coming as it does when there's friction between India and the US over tariffs, and India getting oil from Russia, importing oil from Russia. So this post comes just a day after President Donald Trump threatened India over that purchase of Russian oil, saying he will substantially raise tariffs on goods from India. India too responding and calling this out, saying that earlier the US did not have a problem. Also talking about how the EU also gets oil. Let's go across to Shiv now for more on this story. Well, Shiv Arur will join us in just a moment, but take a look at that clip on your screens there, shared by the Eastern Command of the Indian Army. It's one of those this day, that year post, which shows how the US was supplying arms to Pakistan for decades in the build-up to the 1971 war. The Army, has captioned that post as well. It's an article from the 5th of August. So an interesting post. A snipe really coming at a time of this friction between the United States. Let's go across to Shiv for more on this. So Shiv, give us more details. It's interesting to have this particular post calling out the United States for supplying arms to Pakistan at a time when we're seeing this tariff tension between the two countries.
I'm going to go ahead and call this shots fired, because this is the Indian Army, doing its routine social media posts this day, that year, providing a historical perspective of what happened on this day back in 1971. But the context is everything, isn't it? A very, very telling newspaper clip from 1971 that highlights American weapons support to Pakistan running into billions of dollars. Pakistan, which was India's principal enemy in the 1971 war, to tweet that particular article today, is not an innocuous social media post by any stretch of imagination. This is most definitely not a coincidence, at least in my eyes. Even though the system might say, this is just part of the throwback, social media schedule that the army keeps. But the fact that it's happening right in the middle of this escalating friction between Trump and India, the very abusive words used by Trump to defame India, accusing India of being responsible for deaths in Ukraine, etc. All of this makes this particular post by the Eastern Command of the Indian Army, headquartered in Kolkata, absolutely explosive in my view. Because remember, the Indian Army usually stays out of psychological operations of the political kind. But given that Trump has played a very important role, not only in facilitating, arming and funding Pakistan, wining and dining Asim Munir, that the Indian Army, suffered as a result of during Operation Sindoor, a country to which the Indian Army and the Indian military literally almost went to war, as punitive measures for what happened in Pahalgam. To see that country point a finger through its president and make these intemperate, abusive remarks about India, the Indian government, the Indian system, is obviously unacceptable. So from the Ministry of External Affairs, to members of Parliament, now to even the Indian Army, I think it's fair game to say pot shots are being taken, shots are being fired at the United States. This is an all-nation approach where India, in my interpretation, is flexing right back at Trump, giving a bully an answer in the only language he truly understands.
That's right. Shiv, I was going to raise the point that even the MEA responded to Donald Trump's, post, calling, saying that it's unjustified, that it's unreasonable, it's talking about our policy of oil imports from Russia and how earlier the US didn't seem to have much of a problem with it. So on one hand, the MEA, putting that out there, and the Army now, it's fair game to actually call out these irritants that we've always had with the United States. The fact that they have been supplying, of course, arms to Pakistan, that's not any big secret. We've known it. We've kind of ignored it. But now the Army pointing out this duplicity in a sense on the part of the United States, how it's always had this relation with Pakistan.
That is correct. Let's be very clear. India is under no delusions about America's relationship with Pakistan. And let's be very clear. This is not something that had its genesis under the Trump administration. The US-Pakistan relationship dates back, as this Indian Army post shows, way back into the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So India is very practical and realistic about that relationship. We don't react to it out of emotion. What we are reacting to, however, like you rightly pointed out, is the duplicity, the doublespeak, and the incredible, stupefying hypocrisy of an American president sitting and grandstanding about another country being responsible for deaths in a third country as a result of weapons sales. America as a country is perhaps more singularly responsible for deaths in other countries as a result of weapons sales than any other. If we have to talk about Pakistan, let's remember that America, apart from China, is the biggest armor and weaponizer of a country that happens to be the biggest global sponsor of terror, mostly against India, but also a country that housed Osama bin Laden, a man responsible for the deaths of 2,977 people during the September 11th attack. So American hypocrisy is breathtaking when it comes to the kind of duplicity being displayed by a president. Even if you account for the fact that he's whimsical, this is signature Trump, this is brand Trump. I think the public mood right now in India is, we're a little tired of giving so much accommodation to Trump's brand of politics and his brand of diplomacy. India has drawn the line at the kind of defamation that Trump has indulged in, and this cuts across party lines. And I think what the Indian Army has done by putting out this tweet, what the MEA has done by putting out an unusually strong tweet where it has completely exposed American hypocrisy, given the fact that America imports uranium and palladium and other rare elements from Russia, really shows that India is willing to go the distance to call out Trump's hypocrisy, and that's what it's doing right now.
That's right. Thanks so much, Shiv, for joining us with all those details.